Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome to week 2, live lecture 2. I appreciate you guys' patience with the schedule change here. I just figured it might be a little easier for a lot of you guys to maybe access the live lecture for week 2 today, this morning. So we'll see if anybody comes in rather than last night, since it was Valentine's Day. So I hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day, and you guys are, pretty much getting your discussions. Should be kind of the initial post should have been done by yesterday. So hopefully you guys are responding to your peers and also getting started into your assessment. I'm going to go over your assessment 2 today, so that if you have any questions, hopefully that'll clarify what you need to do. So welcome to week 2, live lecture 2. Let's get started here. You can see I have some really interesting ads on here on this slide, and we're going to talk about this in detail a little bit further here. I think there's some really neat things that we're going to be discussing today that maybe have not been aware of, or maybe something to just think about going forward in this in advertising in general. I thought this was kind of funny. This created a buzz a while back, JCPenney's ad of a tea kettle here. And this kind of goes to show you that sometimes you should have maybe a couple people looking at this in different perspectives before actually producing your billboards or your pieces, because sometimes illusions can come about certain imagery here. So there was a lot of feedback from this particular billboard, which showcases this kettle or I guess tea kettle. From afar, when you're driving quickly, the image could definitely look similar to the picture here of Hitler. So kind of funny, but sometimes these things happen, and sometimes we have no control over it either. It's just, it is what it is. But just something to be aware of. It's kind of interesting how your eye kind of fills in the blanks there. All right, so we didn't really talk about guerrilla marketing. This is another type of marketing campaign idea that a lot of startup companies and even more established companies use. And I'm not going to say localized. There are localized areas for guerrilla marketing, but it can be done so in many different areas as well if you have the money to do so, as far as a bigger company. But ever heard of it, guerrilla marketing? I'm sure you probably have seen some type of guerrilla marketing, maybe even just online, maybe not necessarily in your actual community. I mean, I was exposed to this when I lived in Tampa, and I'll tell you my story, but it's kind of a neat, interesting approach to marketing. So we're going to talk about this and just kind of have this in your mind as possibly a technique that you might want to use, maybe not necessarily for this campaign, but in the future, if you're working for a company or doing a project for somebody that you think would work, this would actually work for them. So guerrilla marketing is an advertising strategy in which low-cost, unconventional means, so like graffiti, sticker bombing, flash mobs, are utilized, often in a localized fashion or large network of individual cells. That's kind of what I was trying to say, to convey or promote a product or an idea. This particular example is showing kind of a neat way to create awareness about how dirty the water is, maybe in this particular area or somewhere where they're creating this awareness about UNICEF. And it's kind of like a vending machine. So they basically tied this guerrilla marketing into a real vending machine and creating awareness. You can see the front of that vending machine is somebody holding that bottle, and it says dirty water on it. You can see how dirty that water is. And that's kind of the antithesis of what you're used to going up to a vending machine. You're used to this fresh, cool looking, clean water or drink. And then they're kind of tying that theme into creating awareness. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but on the right side where the buttons, you have your options. It actually is spelled out diseases or certain things that are found in the water. So you have like cholera, typhoid, so press which one that you want. So it kind of makes you think about things in a different way. utilizing advertising. And this is an example of guerrilla marketing. Definitely would catch my attention. All right. So the term guerrilla marketing is easily traced to guerrilla warfare, which utilizes atypical tactics to achieve a goal in a competitive and unforgiving environment. So, this is kind of why, this is a reason why you would use this tactic. If there's so many saturated, if you have, an area, say a local area where it's just totally saturated with advertisements and billboards, and it's just like really hard to get somebody's attention, this would be a way that you could definitely break through that. Okay, sorry about that. I had to drink some coffee. My voice is kind of going. All right, so this slide is kind of interesting because it's showing you these bikes here, and I kind of wanted to share this to you because when I was living in Tampa, I remember these bikes started showing up like all around our neighborhood, just random bikes sitting up maybe in the middle of the Devil's Strip in the road, and they were bright orange, spray painted just like this. No advertisement, nothing, no sign, just this bright orange spray painted bicycle. And slowly, as 2 weeks went on, I should say, they've kind of been popping up all around, creating this like interest. And I didn't know if it was an art installation or what, but I'm sure everybody else was thinking the same thing. What are these bikes doing around? And then finally, the next week, I noticed that a local gym opened up, and the gym, those were the colors of the gym, and that was kind of tied into their guerrilla marketing. So it was kind of creating this buzz. What are these bikes? What's going on here? And then this gym opened up where it was tied into their grand opening. So everybody was kind of piqued interest in regards to, I was trying to figure out what it was. So knowing that was tied into the gym was kind of an interesting approach to that. And the gym, obviously that bright orange was part of their logo. So, something to think about. This is obviously another campaign used for another brand. The concept of guerrilla marketing was invented as an unconventional system of promotions that relies on time, energy, and imagination rather than a big marketing budget. Typically, guerrilla marketing campaigns are unexpected and unconventional, potentially interactive, and consumers are targeted in unexpected places. So you can have flash mobs. Those were really big back in the day. I'm going to say back in the day, a few years ago, where it was kind of unexpected. And some of those were commercial, set into a commercial where they're capturing the moment of, the flash mob happening, and it was actually directed towards a brand. So, thinking about this is different strategies that you can do. Here's some examples here on the slide of different ways that you can tap into just a new perspective of marketing and grabbing people's attention, even interactively. All right, so just a little heads up here. This is what we'll be going over today. For this lecture, we will be discussing the 11 advertising strategies, and I'll show examples. We kind of went over some of these last week, but we'll go over a little bit more in detail today. And then we'll also look at your assessment too, and we'll do an overview and demo for that, so you guys can hopefully get started on that if you haven't already. Just a little quiz here. I know I don't have anybody here live in the lectures as of now, but this is information that I think would be helpful for you guys. Not necessarily something that I covered last week, but I think it's ties into this class very, very well in terms of advertising and things that we did kind of go over in general. So, it's just kind of nice to see if you know any of these answers, even though we might not have, went over some of this information specifically. So advertising blank brands, groups, and causes, and ultimately sells products and calls people to action. What is the best word for this? Advertising incorporates, combines, or differentiates. Thinking about advertising, we just talked about this. What's the purpose of it? And when we're thinking about the purpose of this, think about how, you don't want your brand to look the same as all the other brands on the shelf, right? So the answer here is differentiate. You want advertising to differentiate your brand, group, or causes, and ultimately sell products and call people to action. So you want to make it different. You want to make it stand out. Which form of advertising is shown above? We have the cigarette FPA. The cigarette looks like a fire, like happening in the wilderness, almost like the woods is burning down. So this is more of a what? Public service advertising advertisement, in-game advertisement, or commercial consumer advertisement. So if you said A, public service, you're right. So this is kind of raising awareness about, people kind of throw their cigarettes out the window and it's in a high risk area of wildfires. This is kind of creating awareness about that. So public service advertising for the good of social, social media, for the good for the public. So public service advertising is advertising that seeks to further the common good. Which form of advertising is shown above here? Public service, in-game, or commercial consumer? What do you guys think? It's kind of a given here. So if you said in-game, you're right. You probably have, maybe if you have a smartphone or a tablet, you have viewed some of these popping up within your game, if not before the game. Kind of annoying sometimes, or just popping up on the screen like this example. So in-game advertising, whether product placement, live billboard feeds, or ads embedded into games, that's often well received by appropriately targeted gamer audiences. So targeting those particular people. Which form of advertising is shown above? This is a Wilson ad, and it's a little hard to see, but it says help win the match against breast cancer. You can see that the pink is used here, not only in the logo, but also in the headline, the woman's fingernails, and the tennis racket. Public service advertising, cause advertising, or commercial consumer advertising. Raising awareness. This is a big company. They're well known. If you said cause advertising, you are correct. So cause advertising, though initiated by commercial concerns, seeks to raise funds for nonprofit organizations or raise awareness on a social issue and runs in paid media sites. Which form of advertising is shown above here? It's kind of a funny billboard, different for sure. It looks like it's for a toothpaste. Brand builds strong teeth. Is it public service, cause advertising, or commercial consumer? If you said C, you are right. So this would be a commercial consumer advertisement in general, kind of selling a product. So it promotes brands and commodities by informing consumers. It is also used to promote individuals, groups, corporations, and manufacturers. Which is not a type of ad agency. We discussed this a little bit, but touched upon it in week 1. I think it was on the first lecture that we had, is that which one is not a type of ad agency? A, in-house, B, full service, C, independent, or D, interactive? Okay, so if you said any of them, it's actually a trick question. So they're all part of ad agencies. So we talked about in-house, full service, independent, and interactive in week 1 live lecture, and just quickly went over what each one of those kind of entails. So it's kind of a little trick question there. All right, advertising campaigns are the groups of advertising messages which are blank in nature, different, similar, or opposite. So the key here is campaigns. We talked about this also in week 1, and you guys should be kind of aware of this now that you're working on your campaign themes. Are they different, similar, or opposite? If you said B, you are right. You have to have a story, a theme that your message goes across this, the whole deliverables of the campaign. So the message needs to be similar. Which advertising approach is the ad above utilizing? And we talked about different strategies of persuasion for advertisements. This is kind of what this is going over here. So is it authentic advertising, comparison advertising, inspirational motivational advertising, or exaggeration advertising? And this is a Nike ad here, push yourself. Well, it's kind of, I think it's kind of pretty easy to see that this is definitely inspirational and motivational. This woman running here, this is push yourself. I mean, it's definitely motivational for sure. This is a strategy that is very, very effective for this particular brand. What about this one? Which advertising approach is the ad above utilizing? Authentic advertising, reasonable, rational advertising, inspirational, motivational advertising, or exaggeration advertising? This is big. This is for mac and cheese. Kraft mac and cheese. That's a big bowl on the table. If you said D, you are right. So they're exaggerating the actual bowl, you know, for that big cheesy taste theme here to go with that. So it's kind of image and type unified approach to that. So exaggeration. What about this Gatorade ad here? This is which advertisement approach is the ad above utilizing? Reasonable, rational, authentic, visual analogy, or inspirational, motivational? We have this boxing ring, and the actual Gatorade bottle is the boxer knocking out its component or competitor. This is Gatorade always wins. Here he is standing right above him in a perspective as if he's beat him and, you know, he's the best of the best. So if you said C, visual analogy, you are right. This is another strategy that you can use. Yeah, this is definitely a very good strategy for certain brands. It's not only is it unique, but it's, you know, memorable because you're using the actual product or, you know, something else to replace the product to get the message across. So it's different. Which advertising approach is the ad at the left utilizing? You can see that there's two phones being looked at here, side by side, split down in the middle, and then they're showing the comparisons between the two. Samsung ad. Comparison, life experience, visual analogy, or reasonable, rational? If you say comparison, you are right. I mean, it's pretty obvious there. You have both of them showing on each side, split into half, and then they're kind of listing each of their comparisons. What about this advertising approach at the left here? So classic Coca-Cola ad, reasonable, rational, life experience, authenticity, or the problem is the solution advertising approach. It says it's the real thing. Well, that's kind of a little hint there. So if you said C, authenticity, you're right. They're telling you it's the real thing, baby. It's the real thing. So it's the real deal. And that is definitely an approach for certain brands, especially with food, maybe cars, be a good strategy to use. All right, so we went over just this quiz here. Hopefully that kind of gave you a little bit more insight into different strategies and understanding of, you know, what campaigns are about, different ways to tap into audiences, like the guerrilla marketing campaign, kind of a cool way to do that if that's appropriate for your project. Maybe not necessarily in this class, but you know, in the future, kind of keep that in mind as possibly, as a possible idea. Let's take a look at some illusion ads. These are kind of an interesting approach as well. These kind of grab your attention for different reasons. This is a Red Cross bus board ad. And this is kind of neat because they're actually taking a shot of the street downtown, and then the art designer somebody took this picture, took it into Photoshop and recreated it as if a disaster had happened, and then kind of placed it up here in the perspective of, this is what it would look like in this same spot, in the same perspective, if a disaster struck. And that's kind of creating awareness of like, this is how it could be. And it's a neat, interesting view, because sometimes we don't realize how bad it can be until, something hits. So they're kind of raising awareness of like, yeah, this is why we're here, donate to our cause. Here's an interesting one too, and some of these are really, really cool. I'm sure you've seen a lot of different billboards that are very interesting, like this one. There's an actual guy up there. I don't know if it's a robot or an actual man. It's a Pond's billboard. I don't think the guy's probably up there all the time, but cleans pores, fights pimples. There's a guy kind of working in that little pore graphic there. This one's kind of funny and kind of gross in the same way. This is for trimmers for nose hairs, and done in a kind of a funny way. Definitely creating buzz here. You can see people looking up at that. And what they're doing is creating this sign, and they're having the utility lines going through the nose of the characters here, as if that's their nose hair kind of growing out. There's some more here. So it says hair trimmer safety cutting system is the product down below. Panasonic is the brand for this. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cute, kind of a fun way to play on a particular space. So an area that you can kind of utilize that. This one's kind of neat. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is for Garnier Fructis, and I believe this ad is targeting not only men but women, because you can see this guy. At first, maybe you think, oh, wow, that's his beard, but it's actually a woman standing in front of him with the hair, and the illusion is being made where he has this big, long beard. But I think the idea here is that it's both for women and men as far as their hair care products. Kind of cool. I'm sure you've seen these types of, or this actual campaign AT&T had a while back. This is an actual artist that paints these beautiful animal portraits on hands. And this is another approach that you can utilize if you are lucky enough to be able to access certain artists like this, and have it promote a particular product. So it's very relevant to what the time frame was for this particular ad. And it brings your eye definitely into the product itself, but in an interesting and unique way. Instead of just showing the phone, I definitely would be pulled into this, definitely a little bit more of the optical illusion. Here's one with a kind of a makes me hungry cake idea, splitting the building in two, but this is already kind of, the building is split in two. It's just kind of utilizing that illusion of the cake. And I think this is a baking soda ad. I'm not sure, for cakes, either that or icing. But kind of a neat way to get that attention for sure. Here's a PSP ad billboard, kind of utilizing the environment in which it's in. Kind of a different way to view a billboard by having the actual controller being the billboard, and then almost as if you're looking through the screen. And it's fit into that environment, but with, it's almost like saying, this is kind of real life, but, there's something going on here in the game world, reality inside the screen. So it's kind of playing upon the actual landscape as well. I think this is a mock-up. I don't think this is actually real. Maybe it is. It looks like it's a composite, meaning like a Photoshop type rough, but nonetheless, this is kind of an interesting approach of blowing up a product in this regards to making it look like part of the truck here. I mean, how this would definitely catch my attention, and heck, it's a chocolate bar, so who is not going to be like, I want a chocolate after seeing this? So hopefully they want you to buy into their brand. This is kind of neat. This is in the city or somewhere where there's manholes where they're like steaming. Folgers kind of took advantage of this whole aspect of it, maybe looking like hot coffee, and placing their ad on the actual man cover. And it says, "Hey city that never sleeps, wake up, Folgers." So obviously this is in New York, and people walking by are maybe saying, "I want some coffee." But that whole brand, the logo kind of gets that idea across. And it's just kind of a neat way to get attention as well. This one's kind of creepy in its own way, but interesting too. Papa John's, kind of a little stick on to the door if you have a little peephole, almost making it seem like the guy's standing there with a pizza at your door when you look out. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of creepy, but kind of fun. And then they have the delivery number here. So it gets the point across for sure. And then it's like, oh, this is an real guy giving me pizza and now I need to call this number. So it's kind of fun to see. I don't know. It would be neat to see how effective this was or how many people it scared for sure. Here is an ad on a bus for toysdirect.com, and they actually made this bus look like a toy itself with the little batteries and the whole design of the bus. So it's kind of cute. They did the whole wraparound theme to make it look like a toy bus. And then they just put their logo on there. So it's kind of a nice play on what their brand's all about. And again, I think I showed this in the beginning of the slide. Here is for an amusement park, and they're just placing it on the down steps of the escalator, kind of giving this illusion as it moves down. These people are on this roller coaster, which ties into the very bottom mat of where that park is, which I think it's a different country because I can't understand the language there. This is kind of a neat approach too. This is kind of a wrap around a telephone pole idea. So it's not actually a guy, it's a printed display, and it's slipped over into these poles to make it look like the guy's holding the pole, almost like the big man competitions, strongman competitions. I can't read what this says, but probably has something to do with maybe an event that's going on. Here's another manhole cover idea. Need a new barbecue. Call this guy. Kind of make it seem like, we got this crappy grill, dirty and yucky, and you don't want to use it, but makes you think, oh, I might need a grill. So you obviously look into that maybe and call that number. I just like these are kind of neat. And the brands, the actual brand logo is probably on here somewhere. I can't see it. This is kind of an optical illusion where it's showing the hairline or the brain, kind of the cranial brain on the helmet. Kind of neat. This is actually very cool. It's McDonald's illusion ad where they're actually playing it on a light post and they're putting the cup down below with the carafe on the top, making it look like it's poured coffee into the cup. Kind of cute. So there's some really cool things that you can do if you have the money. Obviously McDonald's has the budget to do stuff like this, so that helps. And then there's these kind of fun things where it looks kind of like maybe something that is kind of risque, but when you look closer, you understand, okay, this is a shoe ad. It's not really what I thought it was originally. So my eyes kind of adjust, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I can see that they actually are. Hold on, guys, I'm getting an incoming call. I apologize. Okay, but you can actually see that it is the heels of a woman with those shoes on and a little strap there. It's kind of a neat approach for sure. And then these are the tops of, maybe you're in New York City, you do get all those skyscraper buildings. You're high up looking down at a lot of the cars. This is kind of a neat idea of maybe not an optical illusion, but something kind of to utilize the space on a car that you might see often if you live in New York or a place where there's a lot of buildings where you're kind of looking down into the streets or the highway. All right, so I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break before we get into the assessment 2, and we'll go forward into the overview and demo. Okay, let's get started here with your assessment two. Let's take a look at your assessment two in Canvas first, and then we'll go into the demo here. So this assessment two is kind of interesting because it's the little surprise in the whole project experience, and sometimes this happens in the real world, where you'll be assigned a project, and then the client, or a project in regards to a campaign project, and the client will come to you and say, "Oh, I have an added deliverable that came in at the last minute." So this is kind of a real world experience type of a project. So this happens definitely for sure in the real world. I'm going to read through the background and the prompt, and then we'll go into the demo here. So oftentimes when working with a client on a campaign, things change, or the client will want to add something to or take something out of the campaign when you're halfway through the design process. This is always definitely frustrating, but just a part of the process for sure. Oftentimes you may also find yourself suggesting an additional piece that you think will be beneficial based on the specifics of the campaign. Either way, you must be flexible as a designer and understand that sometimes the specs of the job change, and sometimes you need to work fast to complete additional projects for a client. In the prompt this week, you will create an additional advertising piece for your client's campaign. Utilize what you've learned in week 1 and 2 about the different advertising strategies and mediums, and come up with a cohesive piece that will reach the target audience for your campaign. What that piece is is completely up to you, but it must not be something you have already specified for the campaign. In other words, no e-zine ad or newspaper ad, no YouTube or TV script, and no bus wrap. Those are the ones that you are doing for your other deliverables. This will be for the second deliverable for the seasonal event that has only one deliverable. Okay. So what is required? So utilize one of the advanced advertising strategies discussed in week 1, for example, call to action, using emotion, fear, exclusivity, etc. Minimum 150 word explanation. Who is your target audience? How did that influence the decision for your piece? Why did you use that strategy? What season of the campaign is this piece for? And how will it help enhance the overall campaign? Client added, designer determined deliverable to fill in the campaign using the campaign's concept direction. And then for your submission requirements, instructions, you need a multi-page PDF file, including design project and documentation, just like for your assignment 2. Name the file as such. Sorry, I got a little message there. So basically, you're just going to upload one PDF file, and then you're going to name it just as the name is there with your first and last name. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. I think part of this is definitely, you have to research what would be good for your brand. So like say if you're doing the ski resort brand, think about what is a deliverable that you can add in here that would be very effective. So you will already have a magazine ad or newspaper ad. You will have a YouTube video or script. You will have a bus wrap. So besides that, what else would be effective way to add a deliverable in here? What would be another effective deliverable to add to the campaign? So thinking about the actual experience of skiing, you might want to hit upon certain deliverables. Let's see, maybe billboards going to the actual event. Look up deliverables for advertising, and see if we can get some images here. Maybe get some ideas. Okay, so I'm just kind of opening up. And this is kind of where it's good to kind of research. Let me see here. Let's look up ski resort advertisements. I'm just basing it on this one brand. Let me show you what I'm kind of searching here so you guys can do the same. So, you know, whether you're doing the zoo or the ski resort or the Discovery Island, you know, search for those particular keywords for your advertisement and get kind of a good idea of what's out there for this particular brand. You can see there's billboards. You can definitely do a billboard for this particular deliverable. I would stay away from any advertisements in regards to print or web because you're already doing that for this week. Maybe it is a poster. You know, maybe it's an oversized poster that would be hung around the area, maybe coffee shops and stuff like that around that area. It could be bus boards. It could be signage. You're doing a bus wrap, so I wouldn't do a bus wrap, obviously. I mean, there's different, totally, you know, all kinds of different interesting ways that you can advertise in, you know, obviously, maybe even like park benches. I'll show you that here. You know, if it's in a particular city it's close to and you have a lot of park benches, you can utilize that and have your, just make sure when you find one, you need to make sure that the ratio is the same as your ad. So you might want to look up, you know, park bench specifications, and that would be the size. If you're doing a billboard, you might want to look up billboard specs just to kind of get a general sense. And obviously you're not going to design it completely to that size of the billboard. You're going to kind of cut that size in half, if not by 2/3, so that you're not designing this huge billboard in Illustrator or InDesign. But these are just some ideas. Advertisement deliverable ideas. I don't know if that's going to be come up with anything. Signage. So there's different types of signage. Doesn't necessarily have to be just billboard. Different sizes. It could be in different areas. It could be a kiosk. So think about how you will, you know, what's the best thing for your brand, okay? And then, you know, do the research, get the size dimensions, get a ratio that you can kind of start designing it in, and then start thinking about what seasonal event that you want to focus on for this particular deliverable, and then kind of have your theme link to your ad in a way, but you know, you're going to show the seasonal event for this particular ad. All right, so the last time that we met up, and let me go grab that. I actually did a demo for the assignment 2. Let me open that up. I kind of changed some things, so I want to show you what I changed here. Just the headline. So for mine, I actually changed the headline to better go with maybe the brand itself. So I used the word discover, and so I, you know, tied it in with what you see here visually in this ad. So discover a new way to fly, and that ties into the discovery word in the actual brand. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. I kind of had 3-word descriptions up here before in my headline. I decided to change that. You might end up changing it. You know, obviously you're going through your revisions, you're getting my feedback. You'll be getting my feedback on this ad. So you might be kind of doing the similar changes to this. It's all part of the process. So, you know, that's just kind of where we need to start for sure. So let's see, somebody just came in here. Hi, Tamisha. I would just, we started about an hour ago, but just started the demo for assessment 2. So you kind of came in at a right time. Okay, let's see here. All right, so thinking about this ad, how can I add a deliverable to this that is for the assessment 2? So as I said, do your research. Think about something that would fit into your deliverables without copying the same deliverables as we're doing already. I actually did a search for billboard I'm sorry, not bus board. Let's see here if I can bring this up. Bus board, signage. Might be billboard. Let me open up my folder here because I actually have it in my folder what the name of it is. Billboard, billboard bus. So again, I'm doing the Discovery Island, and I thought, you know, these would be kind of really neat to advertise on for this particular piece, just because these would be definitely, you know, being viewable not only from the city or from the street, but also where people are walking. So I thought this would be kind of a neat way to get that that seasonal event advertised. You can find templates. I actually downloaded, and I'll show you here real quick, one of them from online. I'm going to go into Photoshop because once you download it, I wanted to show you real quick how you can check out the ratio here. So what I did was I just downloaded the JPEG, which was a free to use JPEG online, and it's a mock-up. So you can look up mock-up signage or, you know, billboard displays, and you can find blank ones similar to this. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me make sure I'm sharing my actual Photoshop area. Okay, here we go. So, you know, this is kind of where you can actually place the advertisement in. So you could actually do a rough, like a mock-up. And I would be totally open for you guys to show your mock-ups as well if you want to do that. But I definitely want to see your flat file as well. And that's kind of what I'm going to show you in this demo. So you can show the flat file and then show it within your mock-up if you would like to do that. Okay. So first of all, when I place it in here, I'm going to go up to image. I know you guys can't see my bar here, but image size in Photoshop, and just make sure that this is kind of a reasonable size. I think I had downsized the inches. I think it was like really large, and I already downsized it to 8 by 12 at 300 pixels per inch. So that looks good. It's not very low res. And then I'm going to bring up my info. So I'm going to go up to window, and I'm in Photoshop, by the way. So I'm going to bring my info panel up, and I'm going to do my marquee tool here. And as I'm drawing over this white area just to see what the ratio, the size ratio is, I'm going to look in my info palette where it says width and height, and I'm going to look at that number. So I'm going to start at the very top corner with my marquee, click and drag it down to the very bottom right corner of that red or white area, and just get a general idea of what this size is. So right now it's telling me it's 3.667 by 5.667. So really 3.5 by 5.5. I'm going to kind of round it down so it's an easy size to remember. Okay, so or I could probably round it a little up, so like 3.7 by 5.7. Okay, so then I'm going to go into InDesign. I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to make the flat file. And I'm going to do, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me stop sharing and share my, there we go. So what did I say? 3.7 by 5.7, right? Inches. Looks good. Oops, let me open this up again. Okay, so this is, let me adjust this real quick here. My bleed, it doesn't have to be that big. I'm going to adjust my bleeds here, and then I'm going to adjust my margins. So I'm going to go up to layout margins in columns. Right now they're a half. Probably just need about 1/4 of an inch there. Okay, so this is almost 3 3/4 by 5 5/4, like 3.7 by 5.7 inches. And this is a good size to start with. If you were to do this in real life, obviously this would have to be blown up to a percentage for a final print. But for this particular project, and I'm going to name this here, this is perfect. So if you were to do a billboard, let's say you wanted to do a billboard for this, for your assessment 2 piece, you wouldn't actually do like a 10-foot by 4-foot billboard. You would do every foot would equal an inch. So you would do 10 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so it's a reasonable size. Okay, so now this is kind of the size that I want for my, I can actually fit this into my mock-up if I wanted to, but this is my flat file. This is what I was saying you need to include as well. So what I need to do is pick a seasonal event that I'm going to advertise that ties into my theme and make it look cohesive. So I kind of have this on the side so I can flip back and forth to make sure that I'm using the same elements. I could even do a copy and paste in here to kind of, let me downsize this, let me group it. I'm going to downsize this by 40%. Oops. 40, this should be, okay. I'm just going to pull this over. And you could do another artboard if you want to just see that a little bit better, and then just delete it when you're done. Or a page, I should say. I don't think I'm an illustrator. So if I want to just drag this over just for purposes of like flipping back and forth, I can do that. I mean, I can even totally copy this. Let me delete this one and then use this for my billboard. But obviously I'm going to change it up a little bit too. Okay. Just get it in place. And this way I have, my types already kind of what it needs to be. I just need to fix the spacing and everything. Now for this particular piece, I probably wouldn't have, because this is a signage piece, all of this body copy in here would be kind of hard to see from afar. Remember this is for people who are just quickly going by. It's almost like a billboard in a way. It's just smaller and set in a different area outside. So I would keep it simple. So I would keep certain aspects of your campaign, of your elements that you use in your ad, but change up the picture, maybe the tagline, depending on what you're going to do. So I actually went on pixabay.com and grabbed, kind of like I did a search the last time, grabbed a picture that I thought would work really well for my seasonal event. And one of the seasonal events that that were listed for my particular brand was Mardi Gras. And they do Mardi Gras events there. So I chose this really cute picture of this girl, this little girl here, and she's not quite centered, so I'm going to have to blur this up a little bit. But, we're focusing on kids for this particular target audience. So why not use a kid in this picture? It's a cute picture of this kid, kind of a different idea of what Mardi Gras is about, right? You would think it's more adults. But Discovery Island is about kids and families, and they have Mardi Gras events going on. So this is a good way to show, hey, we have Mardi Gras events, and we also have it for families. So that's a great way to show this visually and then tie it into everything. Okay, let me make sure this is all aligned. And what I might do, because it's kind of weird on her forehead, I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring this down to the bottom and maybe have this on the baseline here, and then have the logo come up a little bit. I want enough space in between here. Have this closer here, and then have more space in between the headline and the image. And then maybe for this theme, discover a new way to play. The theme over here on my ad was discover a new way to fly, because of the picture, discover a new way to play. And I thought that was kind of cute because, the kids not only are playing in this Mardi Gras event, but also she's playing this trumpet. It kind of goes with that whole idea of, playing the trumpet or playing music. There we go. Show you the preview here. So it could be very simple for this particular billboard because it is going in a different application than maybe an ad would do, you know, where you would actually sit and look at an ad and read it, in comparison to just seeing it on the street in a signage, you know, on a billboard or signage display piece. Okay, so everything's pretty much the same. You know, I have the same typeface. I might want to enlarge this a little bit. I'm just kind of adjusting certain things. Everything's pretty much the same color, same typeface. The image takes up, you know, pretty much a third of the space, but everything's pretty much the same. And then also I played upon the theme of discover, but I just changed the wording. So discover a new way to fly, discover a new way to play. I might want to say, like, have a little tagline here saying, you know, or not tagline, a subhead underneath this one. Let's see if I could do, that might just kind of give a little information, but people definitely can go online and check that out too. But this information would not be here. Like, I would not have all of this information. I would, let's copy it, just a line of this. I'm going to do just a little text box. Paste that in. I'm going to do a centered copy line here. You know, because remember, people aren't going to be reading this like it, you know, in a regular display. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit here. So you don't have to have a subhead, but I'm just going to show you if you do, this is kind of what I would do for this particular signage piece. I would make it bigger. This is pretty small. Then I'm going to keep the same. Let's do 14. Something like, come discover our family Mardi Gras. I spelled that right. How do you spell Mardi Gras? I spelled that wrong. GRAS event. A little bit smaller here. I know this is the size ratio isn't the same, so my point size isn't quite right here. Move this up just a little bit, move this up just a little bit. And then have the headline closer to, or the subhead closer to the headline for this, so it reads together. So it says, come discover a new way to play at our family Mardi Gras event, something like that, in regards to just kind of finding out a little bit more about what this is. And then people can go online, you know, the web address is here to find out more. You can emphasize certain words. I can make certain words all caps because this is a subhead. Just make sure it's consistent if you do that. I wouldn't capitalize the 2 and the A's. Use the main words here, Mardi Gras event, something like that. Okay. So it just gives a little bit more insight to what this is, you know, what it is. It's a family Mardi Gras event. Discover a new way to play. All right, let's see here. So it's up to you on what you want to do in regards to your overall piece here. Just make sure it's not a duplicate of what we're going to be doing for the other 3 pieces. So you can't do an ad. You cannot do a YouTube. We're going to be doing like a, what is it? How they call this? The YouTube TV script you can't do, and do not do a bus wrap. So that's kind of part of our next process steps here for our deliverables. But everything else is open. Okay, you can do tabletop displays. You could do like this, a bus board, any type of other signage that's not a bus wrap. You could do billboards, posters, you know, so think about what aligns with your brand better in regards to what would be more effective. Okay, don't forget the second part of this. Once you're done, don't forget, make sure it's cohesive with your theme. So it has to be a campaign theme that runs kind of consistently and cohesively across the board. So when you have all your pieces together, it's a story. It all makes sense. There's no disconnection. But also don't forget that this needs to be a seasonal event included into your campaign piece. The second part of this is your kind of reflection. So the 150 word explanation is also needed to be included in this. And this is pretty similar to your assignment 2, where you're kind of adding it all together as a PDF. So when you're completely done with this and you're saving it out, go ahead and save it out as PDF. You can do a smallest file PDF, save it to your folder, and then you'll have that to submit. Now, if you want to go one step further, you can. If you have the template and you want to place this into your Photoshop mockup, I would say export this out as a JPEG or a PDF before doing so, like a high-res JPEG. So go ahead and save this out, maximum 300 pixels per inch, export. And then go into Photoshop, open up your, I'll show you here how I would do this. There's actually really cool PSD mockups that you can download for free too, if it, you know, correlates with your deliverable. This is just the simple mockup that has no layers in it. So this is kind of the old school method way of doing it. So I'm going to unlock my layers. If you're very comfortable in Photoshop and you think that you have experience with PSD mockups or mocking something up, you can do this. This is not required for this particular project. What is required is your flat file. So let me show you real quick. I just saved this to the PDF that I just saved out. This is what you're required to have once you submit this, besides the second written part of this. This PDF I just opened. So open your PDF, make sure it's viewable, everything looks good. So this is what's required, your flat file, okay? Now, if you want to go one step further and you want to investigate maybe more of a mock-up approach idea, you could do something like this. So I'm going to go File Open after I have my mock-up opened up. And I'm not doing a PSD mock-up. So if you're doing a PSD mock-up, the process is a little different than this. I'm just going to do it the old school way. I'm going to open up that PDF that I just saved to my desktop here. Or I'm sorry, the JPEG, not the PDF. Okay. I'm going to do a select all in Photoshop, and I'm going to do a Command C. So really it's up, that's shortcut keys. So if I go up here, up to edit in Photoshop, just hit copy, edit, select all is under select all. Okay. I'm going to go back to my billboard, bus board JPEG. Actually, I'm going to name this file save as. I'm going to name this busboard.psd. Save it to my desktop as a PSD file. Then I'm going to do a Command V, which is a file place. I'm going to place this in here. So you can see I placed this in here. It looks pretty good in terms of the size. I might need to adjust a few things. It looks pretty good in terms of that. I might want to throw like an inner drop shadow. So I'm going to go up to layer style, and do maybe an inner shadow just to make it look like it's set in there. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to hit preview. You'll see it before and after. It looks pretty good. I can even do a drop shadow if that kind of makes it look nice too. I don't know if a drop shadow would be warranted, but you can't see it. I see a little bit of white peeking through, so I'm going to make this a little bigger. So I'm going to do transform scale. Like I said, if you're not comfortable in Photoshop and you don't want to do this, that's fine. I'm just kind of giving you that option if you want to make it look more realistic. Okay, so that's kind of what a real mock-up looks like. Very quick and simple. I had the dimensions because I went in there before, like I showed you. And this is kind of a nice way to see how it's going to actually look like in real life. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Save. It's a PSD file. If you're going to add this to your PDF, so you'll have the flat file in this file, go ahead and export it out as a PDF as well. So File, Save As, Photoshop PDF. You can just name it whatever. You don't have to have the actual name that you have your flat file in. So I'm just going to do smallest file size PDF. That looks good. And let me open this up. So I opened up my flat file PDF. So this is the original one. Now I'm going to add that other PDF that I did my mock-up in. So I'm going to go up to Tools, and I'm going to say Combine Files. I'm going to add files. I'm going to add that mock-up PDF. And I'm going to add, I think I have to add the other one here too. Oh wait, let's see if I can hit combine, if that'll combine it with this. No, I need to combine again and add the other file. So my other PDF needs to be added as well. Okay, let me see here. There we go. So I just drag both of these in here and I'll hit choose combined. When I zoom out, you can see there's 2 pages to this. So I have my flat file and then I have my mock-up file. And again, you don't have to have this mock-up file, but if you're, if you're familiar with the process, make sure the mock-up isn't completely huge. I mean, this is okay because, obviously you need a little bit more background here, but if your overall layout is extremely large compared to this, you need to adjust your image size in Photoshop, as I showed you in there. I think this is about 8 by 12. Okay, and then save this with your 150 words as a PDF under the name provided, the correct name here. Let me save over this. Now I gotta close out this one. Assessment 2, desktop, save. Okay, and it saves over. So, this is the file minus the reflection post that you're going to add that is supposed to be submitted. Any questions about that? Okay. Pretty easy. I think the tricky part is just trying to figure out what deliverable you want to use, finding out the size of it so that you can start it in InDesign, and then also tying that into your theme, but using that seasonal theme with that, using a seasonal theme from your brand. And that's pretty much it for today. I actually kind of I'm done a little early, but if you have any questions or want to show anything, I know Tamisha, you're in here. If you want to show anything or have any questions, let me know, or else I'm going to kind of wrap this up a little early. If you want me to show you anything, I can. Completely up to you. Tamisha, can you hear me? Okay, looks like she might have walked walked away for a bit. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. I will be around. Email me. I can get back to you as soon as possible. Good luck with everything. I think you guys, obviously once you have that theme chosen, I think hopefully the rest will be a little easier. And, as we get to the final project, we'll be looking at everything together. So if there's any adjustments that need to be made, you'll definitely see what needs to be adjusted as we go forward. All right, you guys, good luck with everything. And let me know if you have any questions. And, if anything that you want me to look at, send it to me. I actually, just an FYI, I'm going away this weekend. I might not have Wi-Fi. So send me those questions as soon as possible, early on before Friday. I'll be actually leaving afternoon on Friday. So I won't be back till Sunday. If you don't hear back from me, that's why I will be kind of out of a service area for this weekend. But, definitely if you need to get a hold of me, try to. If I'm not getting back to you right away, that's probably the case. So just kind of a little heads up there. All right, guys, have a wonderful end of this week. Have a great weekend, and I'll be talking to you soon.